Greetings, and welcome to the Blacklight Protocol, a Red King Creations production. Episode 6, Rule Number 1. Hello, my name is Sasha. I'm 21 years old, and I live in Cleveland, Tennessee. Cleveland's an alright place. It's supposed to be a city, but it doesn't really feel like a city. It's more spread out and still has your local fast food joints, a couple smoothie places. It's not so bad. This all happened a couple of months ago, and it was with my boyfriend, Tommy, who encouraged me to write down some of the things that happened to us, and he said that maybe I could send it into a podcast or maybe try to get it on the radio. I did. I do want to tell my story. It's not anything to do with fame or fortunes or anything like that. It's just that when I saw that you were trying to put together a protocol, some instructions, I thought to myself that maybe my story could help. Maybe that I have something to offer. I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. We'll see. Okay, here goes. Like I said, this was all about a few months ago. Tommy and I had just moved in together. We'd been dating for about a year and decided to start looking for a place. It worked out quite well that we found a small house for a reasonable price, and it didn't need too much work done. It's perfect for us. We don't really need anything more. It's rural. It's outside of town. We have neighbors down the road, but they don't ever bother us. Obviously, we're around people, but at the same time, we feel kind of off on our own. For a little context, Tommy works at the warehouse just over in Charleston. He only works 4 days a week, and it's night shifts, and the hours are pretty long. It means that for half the week, it's just me home alone at night. It's never been a problem. At first it was tough, but we got into a rhythm. I've always liked the nighttime, never been afraid of it. You know, if I ever have to go on a long drive, I actually prefer if it's at night. That's when a lot of my creativity kicks in. I like to draw. I'm not very good, but sometimes late at night I'll start drawing and it just feels right. Like I can get in the zone so easy and I could stay there. Now though, I think I'm afraid. I was at home that night drawing. I can't remember what it was, but I was having fun listening to music. And I'd heard something distant through my headphones. It sounded like knocking. This startled me right away because it was a surprise. I mean, I never get nighttime visitors, and Tommy hadn't said anything about coming home early, so I was on edge when I went to the door. I looked around thinking to myself, did I lock all the doors? Are all the windows shut? I hear the knocking again, this time louder and clearer, so I go to the door and I look through the peephole, but I can't really see anyone. All I can see is the top of what looks like a little boy's head. You can imagine my confusion at this. Again, we had neighbors, but they never bothered us. While I was sure I'd seen children outside playing, I don't know. I opened the door, and there he was. He was maybe 5 years old. He had short dark hair and pale skin. He didn't look up when the door opened. He just kept his head down. I looked at him, and then I immediately scanned the area, looking for a parent or a sibling, someone, but no one else was outside. Just the boy. Hello? I said, still looking around. I wasn't sure he was just alone. Where are your parents? Can I come in? He asked, head still bowed, like he was saying a prayer. Now, please don't think bad of me, but I didn't want to let him in. Call it a premonition, woman's intuition, God, an angel, I don't know, I don't care. This little boy knocking on my door at like 11 o'clock? What would you do if you saw some child walking in your door that close to midnight? It was spooky, and I didn't like it. Call me whatever you want. I didn't want to let him in. I didn't mean that I was going to try and leave him there. I was going to step outside with him, maybe walk down to the neighbors, 20 yards away, see if they recognized him. But before I could step outside, he spoke again. "May I come in?" He asked again, and I was already spooked, but this just freaked me out. Even more because he was a child. He looked like he was 5, maybe even 4. He's not crying for his mother. He's not looking at me. He's just being weird. He's not acting like any kid I've ever seen. I realized then that I didn't have my phone on me, and I should probably get it, slip some shoes on, and take the kid to the neighbors. I was going to leave him there and let them deal with him. So I tell the boy, I say, "Why don't you wait right here, and I'll slip my shoes on, and we'll find a way to get you home." Then I close the door, get my phone, slip on some sandals, and open the door again. But when I opened the door, he was gone. There's no sign of him at all. It wasn't gone more than 30 seconds, I swear. But as I'm looking, I don't see him walking down the road or across the yard. And as spooked as I was still concerned for him, so I even walked around the house to see if he was hiding or something. But he was gone. When Tommy came home later, I told him all about it, and he thought it was super weird too. Freaked him out, but the child was just gone, and there wasn't anything we could do about it. A few days go by, and that's all I can think about. Every night that I'm home alone, I imagine hearing the knocking on the door. Sometimes when I'm playing or drawing games, I think I was hearing a knock, but I wasn't. Anyway, it takes maybe a month. We just chalk up the whole experience as a weird, bizarre... I don't know. We get over it. Can't be scared forever, right? So, at that point, I'm still kind of thinking about it, but not really. Things have basically gone back to normal. I was coming back home one night, just driving back from a friend's house. It was about 10 o'clock, I think. Food City's open till 10, right? Anyway, I think it is. The reason I say that is because I stopped by Food City right before they closed and picked up a few things. I didn't want to, but I was passing by and just worked out, so I did. I'm not there long. I come out pretty quick because they're closing and, right there at the end of the parking lot is a red light. I thought I was going to catch it while it was green, and I didn't. I got stuck. So I'm sitting there waiting on the light to change, and for some reason it just feels like it's taking forever. I'm tapping on the wheel, checking my phone. Yeah, I know, I was on my phone. I remember glancing to my left, and I saw her. It was a little girl, blonde-haired, wearing a small pink frock and white leggings. She looked like her mom had dressed her up for church on Easter Sunday. But in my gut, I knew that something wasn't right. All of that fear and anxiety that I had tried to suppress and move on from the first child all came back to me. I was just sitting there, looking at her, and she wasn't looking at me. Her head was bowed. She approached the car slowly. Her little feet were in those little white buckle shoes, making small, deliberate steps. She reached my car, and at this point, I don't even remember if the light was green or not. I was just frozen. "Can I get in?" she asks. Crap. I don't say anything. I'm just looking at her. She doesn't move. Her hair is blowing in a breeze that I can't feel because I'm in a locked car and I'm not moving. "Can I come in?" she asks again. "No," I tell her, and shake my head. I think I was crying. "You can't come in." As soon as I said that, she looks up at me, and I screamed. She has huge eyes, and they were black, like a shark's eyes, infinite and empty at the same time. "Let me in," she says softly, reaching for the door handle. I grabbed the door, spamming the lock button. "Let me in." She's more insistent this time. No, I tell her again. No, no, no. Let me in, she screams. I drive away. You might be wondering why it took me so long to do that. You're probably thinking that as soon as I saw her, you would get the heck out of there. But it's different. It's different when you're actually there, because you're still seeing a little girl or a little boy, and your instinct is to help. Your instinct is to invite them into your home and to take care of them, but they aren't children. When I saw those eyes, I knew that they weren't. They're not human. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror, but she was gone. Disappeared, just like the boy before. The first time I saw one of the children, I wasn't afraid of being at home, because I'd be home alone, anticipating a knock or sound or something. Now in the car, driving away, I didn't feel like I could be anywhere. That was the last time I saw them. I haven't seen any more since, but the story doesn't quite end there. Again, fast forwarding a few weeks, but this time I hadn't been able to let go. Tommy makes me take sleeping pills, or else I won't sleep. He was scared too, but he didn't see them. I give him a lot of props for believing me outright, for not thinking I'm crazy. I was outside, maybe taking some trash out or something, and across the way I saw one of my neighbors sitting outside, just rocking in her chair. It looked like she was looking at me, so I smiled and I waved. But she didn't wave back. She just kept rocking. I tried to wave again, but I felt stupid. Maybe she wasn't looking at me. I turned away, embarrassed, and was walking into the house when I caught a sound of her singing. I didn't even know how I was able to hear. Maybe it was carried by the wind, but I don't remember any wind. I don't even remember most of the words. I just heard her sing, "And when they come a-knockin', don't you let them in." Now, she could have been singing anything. Could have been making up the words for all I know, but when I heard them, I stopped. As you can imagine, it felt a little too on the nose to be a coincidence. It felt like she'd started singing to me. I went over to her house. As I got closer, I could tell she was an old woman. Her dark ebony skin was wrinkled and speckled with age and use. Her hair was white and her nails were yellow. She wore big studded sunglasses that covered half her face. She was wearing an ivory dress with a blanket on her lap, and she just kept rocking. "I was wondering if you'd come over," she said. "Come on up here, have a seat, have a seat." She made a little wave, and I just sat down on a small stool. I introduced myself, and she told me that her name was Marjorie. She was sweet and loud and bodacious in all the ways that old women can be sometimes. I wasn't exactly sure how to bring it up, the children, but I really needed to ask, so I kind of just blurted it out. "Have you ever seen anything strange?" "Well, honey, I don't see much these days." She pulled those large glasses down her nose, and I sucked in the breath when I realized that she was blind. I mean, she had no eyes. They were gone. Her eyelids just hung over empty holes. I felt bad about my reaction, and felt stupid for trying to wave at her. I quickly composed myself and remembered why I was there. "Well," I said, "it's just that your song reminded me of something. It happened a couple of weeks ago, that I heard a knock late one night, and..." She held a hand up, interrupting me. Her expression wasn't afraid, it wasn't serious, but it was somewhere in between. Concerned, maybe? "Did you let them in?" she asked. "No," I said. She nodded, and I felt a relief well up inside of me. "That's rule number 1, she said, extending a crooked finger. "Don't let them in." "Who are they?" I asked, and Marjorie was quiet for a long moment, mulling over her answer. "I've thought for many, many years what they could be," she finally spoke. "I used to think that they were demons, something nefarious, something with ill intent." She paused again. "But I don't think that now. I think they're more animalistic, perhaps. Take a shark, for example. You see, no one likes a shark attack, but no one really blames the shark. It never wanted to hurt you, never contemplated such a thing. It was just doing what a shark does. That's what I think those dark-eyed children are. I think they are what they are. Sometimes we are in the wrong place at the wrong time." "What do they want?" was the next thing I asked. "They want something important," she said. "Maybe that's what they feed off of, I don't know. I just know that whatever you lose, you feel like they were the ones who took it." I asked Marjorie the next logical question. How did she know all of this? She leaned forward in her rocker and lowered her glasses once more. "I let them in." We talked for a little while longer, but that's the important bit. A lot of it was just me recounting my own experience and trying to process what I'd seen and asking a lot of questions, but it wasn't new information. She was just saying the same thing in different ways. There was one final question that I didn't ask until I was halfway down the porch steps as I was leaving. "You said, 'Don't let them in' was rule number 1. I said. "What are the other rules?" "For now," she said with a knowing smile, "you only need to know 3. Rule number 1, don't let them in. Rule number 2, the birds like cigars. And rule number 3, tell John he needs a Blacklight." Thank you for listening to the Blacklight Protocol, a Red King Creations production. Written by Hunter Johnson and narrated by Nikolas Pendley.